Hello yogis, welcome to your channel for free yoga. My name is Trishy and today I will be teaching you an intermediate flow. It always helps to have two blocks handy and come into a comfortable seat, either on a block or kneeling. Close your eyes and begin to ground yourself to the mat. Take a deep breath and exhale out your mouth. Come to lay on your back with your knees bent, feet flat on the mat. Let your feet go wide to the outsides of the mat and let your knees fall in together. Place your hands on your belly and breathe deeply into your hands. Let your inhale and exhale be slow and peaceful, feeling the coolness of the exhale through your nose. Bring your right knee into your chest and give it a hug. Then open your right knee out to the right side of your ribs. Keep your left leg where it is. Bring the leg back center and lift your leg up to the sky, interlacing your fingers behind your hamstrings. Bend your knee, hug it in. And we'll switch sides. Bend your left knee, hug it into your chest. Then open the knee out to the side while still hugging it in. Bring the knee back center and lift your leg up to the sky, straightening your leg and interlacing your fingers behind your hamstring. Try to keep your shoulders down to the mat as much as possible. Bend your knee, hug it in. Then lift both legs up to the sky, point through your toes. Interlace your fingers behind your head, and as you inhale, lift and curl elbows and hips together, lifting up. Lower back down. Keep your legs in the air. Inhale, lift your shoulders off the mat, curling up towards the sky and lifting your hips off the ground. Lower down. Inhale, curl. Exhale, release. Inhale, curl. Hold it tight. Exhale, release. Bend your knees. Hug them in. And rock up, cross your legs in front of you, and step back into tabletop pose. Hips over knees, wrists under shoulders. Keep your hips exactly where they are and walk your hands and arms forward into puppy stretch. If your forehead doesn't quite come to the ground, you can always place a block underneath it. breathe deeply, keeping your lower abdominals engaged so that you're not swaying in your back. Walk your hands back center, lift up, right arm to the sky, thread it through underneath your body for thread the needle, right ear comes to the mat. Come up on your left fingertips. Keep your hips square over your knees. Come back to tabletop. Left arm raises to the sky, thread it through underneath your body, left ear to the mat, right fingertips on the mat. Keep your hips center. Lift back into table. Walk your palms forward for puppy stretch again, this time bending through your elbows and letting your hands come together in prayer position. Keep your lower abdominals engaged and let the stretch come from your shoulder girdle. And release. Walk your hands back in. Curl your toes under and come into plank pose. Lower abdominals tucking in and lengthen through your tailbone. Raise your right leg out behind you and then curl in knee to nose. 3-leg plank and back down. Left side 3-leg plank, knee to nose, extend behind you, straight leg, back to plank. Right leg, raise behind you, knee to nose, 3-leg plank, and lower. Left side, 3-leg plank, knee to nose, straight back and down. Lift back in a downward facing dog. Paddle through your feet. First bending one knee and then the other. Press your chest to your thighs and then roll forward into plank pose. Back to downward dog. Plank. Downward dog. Plank. Don't lose the integrity in your core. Downward dog. Plank pose. Downward dog. Lift your right leg to the sky and step your foot in between your hands, lowering your back knee to the ground. Come up on your fingertips and open your chest. Raise your arms up to the sky, low lunge. Knee over ankle, hips square to the front of the mat. Bring your hands back down to the mat. Circle your right arm around and back as you bend your left knee and grab your foot for a quad stretch. Open your chest up and to the right. Gently release the back foot. Palms to the inner edge of your right foot. Curl your back toes under and lift up into lizard pose. Keep your chest reaching forward. Back to downward dog. Roll forward into plank pose. Lower your knees, chest, and chin. And lift up into cobra. Lower down. Cobra again, elbows tucking in. Lower. Cobra, hips on the mat. Lower down. Lift back into downward dog. Left leg reaches to the sky and step it in between your hands, back knee to the mat for low lunge. Fingertips and reach your chest forward. Now lift your arms up and around to the sky. And feel free to interlace your fingers if that feels nice. Open your chest while keeping your lower abdominals hugging in. Bring your hands down to the mat. Bend your right knee and clasp hold of your foot with your left hand for a quad stretch. Open your chest up and lengthwise to the side of your mat. Breathe deeply. Gently release the hold of your back foot and bring your hands to the inside of your left foot. Lift your back knee off the mat for lizard pose. Open your chest forward and then step back into downward facing dog. Roll forward into plank pose, knees, chest, chin, back feet on the mat. Lift up into cobra, release down, cobra, release. One more, cobra again, keep your elbows tucking in. Forehead to the mat, lift back into downward facing dog. Take a nice deep breath and lift your right leg to the sky. Step your foot in between your hands, back foot at parallel to the back edge of your mat, and lift up into warrior two. Right knee over right ankle. Open your arms wide as your palms face towards the earth. Breathe deeply, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Bring your arms behind you as you interlace your hands and dive forward for humble warrior. So you're keeping your legs exactly as you are. Reach your palms overhead. So from here you're going to rise right back up, left hand down into reverse warrior. Hands to the inside of your right foot. Step back into downward facing dog. Press your chest towards the thighs. Plank pose. Downward dog. Roll forward into plank. Downward dog. Plank pose. Downward dog. Plank pose. Lower all the way down to the mat, elbows hugging in, cobra, top of the feet to the mat, lower down, downward facing dog. Take a breath and lift your right leg to the sky, step it in between your hands, back leg parallel to the back of the mat, warrior two. Lower your hips down. Bend your front knee. Breathe. Bend down a little bit further. Interlace your fingers the more unusual way behind your back, and then dive to the inside of the left knee. Bring your hands over your head. Humble warrior. Keep grounding through your right leg, both feet firmly on the mat, Lift up, release your arms to the sky, right hand to your right leg, reverse warrior. Bend deeply into your front knee. Warrior 2, hands to the inside of your left leg and step back into downward facing dog. Roll forward into plank pose, then downward dog. A few more. Plank, downward dog, plank pose, and downward dog. Plank, lower all the way to the mat, lift up into cobra, nose to the mat, downward dog. Lift your right leg to the sky, bend your knee, open your hip. Lift your knee a little higher, straighten and square your hips and step your foot in between your hands. Warrior 2 legs. And raise your arms to the sides. Straighten your right leg. Bend forward, lower your right hand to the inside of your right leg, left arm to the sky for triangle. Feel free to bend your knees if you have to, and lengthen out your torso. Left hand to your left hip, bend your right knee, right fingers 6 inches in front of your foot for half moon. Bring your left leg up as high as you can. Find something to balance on. Left hand down, half splits, or standing splits rather, and clasp your leg with your right hand behind. Come center, toes out, heels in, squat down. Get deep as you can into your squat. Raise your arms up as you straighten your legs. Exhale, cactus arms as you bend your knees. Inhale, straighten up. Exhale, bend your knees. Inhale, lift your arms to the sky as you straighten your legs. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend your knees and arms. This time, keep your legs bent as you raise your arms above your head. Try to sit down and really ground into the squat. Roll forward into high lunge at the front of your mat and back into downward facing dog. Plank pose, knees, chest, and chin. Cobra, keep your hips grounded, nose to the earth, and back into downward facing dog. Left leg lifts to the sky, bend your knee, open your hip, and step your foot in between your hands for warrior 2. Knee bent over ankle, arms out to the sides. Pelvis is straight and square. So you're not dipping it one way or another. Straighten your leg. Triangle pose. Hips go to the back of the mat as you bring your left hand to the inside of your left ankle and raise your right arm to the sky. Really elongate your torso, even if your knees are bent. Right hand to right hip, bend your left knee, and bring your left hand 6 inches in front of your foot as you stand up, lifting your right leg to the sky for half moon on the opposite side. Right hand and arm is reaching up. Find something to balance on as you keep reaching your right leg to the sky. Release, facing the long edge of your mat for squat in the opposite direction. So your right foot is towards the back of your mat, your right side body. Heels and toes out squat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bend your knees and elbows as you squat. Straighten your legs. Bend your legs. Make sure you keep your knees over top of your ankles, facing your feet. Bend. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bend. Go deep into your squat as you really open your knees up. Inhale, arms up. So it's important to protect your knees and keep them pointing in the same direction as your feet. Squat down a little further, then come back to the front of the mat and into downward facing dog. Roll forward into plank pose, knees, chest and chin, cobra, downward dog. Bring your knees down to the mat and come into child's pose. Knees go wide, big toes touch. Bring your forehead to the mat. Take a few deep breaths and slow down your breathing. Refocus your energy. If you'd like to go a little bit further, you can bring your hands in prayer to the back of your neck. Release your hands down to the mat. Walk your hands in, knees together. Make sure your baby toes are touching the mat. Raise your arms overhead. And as you exhale, hands back behind you. Bring your forearms to the mat if flexibility is there. If not, you can just stay standing on your arms. And if you're free of any neck injuries, go ahead and release your neck behind you, but first lengthening it. Lengthen through your tailbone, so you should have no pinching in the lower back. Lift through your chest. Slowly lift back up. Arms up. Karate chop your right elbow to the outside of your left knee, forearm to the mat. As you lift your right arm to the sky for a twist, and then if you would like to go a little further, you can bring it back behind your low back. Twist from your hips and all the way up into your chest. Release. Arms up overhead. Karate chop your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. Forearm to the mat. Right arm overhead. And then if you want to go further, you can bring your hand behind your lower back. Twist open and up to the right. Release. Walk your palms forward, curl your toes under and back into downward facing dog. So we're going to heat it up a little more now. Lift your right leg to the sky and step your right foot in between your hands. For high lunge, fingertips on the ground. You're on the ball of your left foot. Bring your feet into wide-legged forward fold, so each foot is parallel to the short edge of your mat. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, fold forward. Have a little micro bend in your knees so you're not hyperextending. Lift up. Come forward to your mat and come into Dolphin Pose. So it's downward dog on your forearms. Keep your forearms about shoulder width distance apart and walk your feet in as much as possible. Look in between your elbows. Walk your feet back into Forearm Plank. Keep your core strongly engaged and don't go too high or too low. Roll to the outer edge of your right foot and lift your left hand to the sky. You can keep your forearm at a 45-degree angle for side forearm plank. If you want to go a little deeper, lift your leg to the sky. Come back into Forearm Plank. Lower your knees and hips down to the ground for Sphinx Pose. Take a minute to just breathe. Pull your chest forward and your shoulders back. Nose to the mat, lift back in a downward facing dog. Lift your left leg to the sky, step in between your hands, high lunge, knee off the mat. Then walk your hands into the center of the mat so you're facing the long edge for wide-angled forward fold, wide-legged forward fold. So your feet should stay parallel to the short edges of your mat. And feel free just to bend your elbows and lengthen out through your spine as you fold forward. Lift up halfway. Walk forward. Downward dog. Lower your forearms to the mat as you keep them shoulder width distance apart and walk up into Dolphin Pose. Try to gaze at the space in between your arms. Hold here. Walk your feet back into Forearm Plank. Hold. Remember to breathe. Roll onto the outer edge of your left feet and lift your right arm to the sky. Left forearm at a 45-degree angle. Lift your right leg to the sky. Push through your obliques. Come back center and lower your hips down for Sphinx. Take a nice deep breath. Roll your shoulders onto the back body and just take a moment. Plant your hands beside your shoulders and push back into downward dog. Lower your knees down to the mat. Cross your ankles and come to sit on your bottom. Left foot to the inside of your right thigh, right leg out in front of you. Flex through your toes. Inhale, lift your arms above your head. Exhale as you fold over your right leg. Feel free to grab onto whatever you can. Even use a strap if necessary. Try not to bend too much in your spine. Keep it more straight than rounded. Very slowly and mindfully lift back up. And and we'll switch sides. Left foot to the inside of right foot rather, into the inside of the left thigh. Left leg straight out in front of you as you fold over your left leg. Breathe deeply as you ground through your sits bones. Lift up, slowly and mindfully, and windshield wiper your legs slowly from side to side. This is to release your lower back and bring it back into a neutral position. Lower down onto your back, and we'll come into bridge pose. So have your shoulders onto your back body. Bring your feet close to your sits bones as you lift your hips up to the sky. You can just lay your arms down to your side. You should be able to grab your heels, not grab them, but at least touch them. Engage your glutes as you lift up a little higher. And slowly lower your spine one by one. So next we're going to come into wheel pose, but if wheel pose is not a part of your regular practice, just go ahead into the bridge pose we just did. So bring your hands beside your ears facing your feet. As you lift, you strongly engage your feet and hands and lift your glutes up to the sky. Be sure to have your feet parallel to the long edges of your mat and push forward just slightly as you lengthen your tailbone so that you're not pushing too hard on your wrists. When you're ready, very slowly and mindfully lower back down. And just let your knees knock in together as you take a few breaths. Cross your right foot over your left knee and let your left knee come down to the ground. You can bring your arms up into a cactus shape. So I like this one because it's a very elongated twist and it lets you breathe freely in your stomach. Lift back up and hug your left knee into your chest for Reclined Pigeon. Feel free to take a couple ankle circles and keep flexed through your right foot to protect your knee. Lower back down and we'll just go to the opposite side. So cross your left ankle over your right knee and let your right knee fall to the ground, out to the right. Breathe deeply as you slow down your practice. Lift your knees back up, keep them as you are as you hug your right knee into your chest. If you're not able to grab on to the calf, or rather the shin, you can always interlace your fingers behind your knee. And release and stretch out into Shavasana. Let your legs and arms go wide as you bring your shoulders onto the back body. Take a few minutes and just relax and feel the effects of your practice. Close your eyes and even feel free to remove your glasses. Come back to your natural breath and the present moment. Fully relax. Start to wake up as you wiggle your fingers and toes. Raise your arms up overhead and take a big stretch. Slowly roll onto one side as you lift back up into a seated position. Hands on your knees. Just take a moment and breathe. Bring your hands in prayer. Inhale deeply through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Thank you so much for practicing today with me, yogis. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you so much. Namaste.